Hello listeners, this video discusses the importance of being earnest, a play written by Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde was born in the year 1854 and died in the year 1900. He was an Irish poet and a playwright. He became one of the most popular playwrights in London around the early 1890s. He is most remembered for his novel The Picture of Dorian Gray. Also, he is popular for his epigraphs and plays. He is also popular for epigraphs and plays. Epigraphs means it is a brief and interesting statement. It is a satirical statement. He is a spokesperson of aestheticism. Aesthetics is a philosophical study of beauty and taste. His notable works are The Picture of Dorian Gray in the year 1890. Salome is one-act tragedy, published in the year 1891. The Importance of Being Earnest, it is a trivial comedy which was first performed in the year 1895 at the St. James Theatre in London. The Selfish Giant, which he published in the year 1888, it is a popular tale which is lasting still. The Ballad of Reading Gold, it's a poem which he released in the year 1897. The Happy Prince and Other Tales is a collection of stories for children which he published in the year 1888. So in that collection there are tales like The Happy Prince, The Nightingale and the Rose, The Selfish Giant, The Devoted Friend and The Remarkable Rocket. Wilde has also written many essays that include The Soul of Man Under Socialism in 1891, The Decay of Living and Observation in 1891, The Critique as Artist in 1891. These three essays he has compiled in his collection of essays which titled Intentions. Let us see an overview of the importance of being earnest. This play was first performed on 14th February 1895 at St. James Theatre in London. This is a comedy in which the protagonist maintains a fictional persona in order to escape burdensome social obligations. The play also depicts the social conventions of late Victorian London. The play was adapted into films. There are three important adaptations into films. One was in the year 1852, another 1992. The most recent adaptation was 2002. As a successful playwright, Oscar's other successful plays include Lady Windermere's Fan, which he first performed in the year 1892, An Idle Husband in 1895, A Woman of No Importance 1893. After the success of all three plays, he started to write The Importance of Being Earnest. As I mentioned, the play was first produced at the St. James Theatre on Valentine's Day 1895. This play was performed after Oscar Wilde's imprisonment for 2 years. The reason for his imprisonment was a sexual offense against him. The play has 3 acts. The first act happens in Algernon's Moncrief's flat in Half Moon Street. The second act happens in the garden of the manor house, WOOLTON. The third act is set in morning room at the manor house, WOOLTON. And the play itself was set in the present time, that was in the year 1895. Let us see the characters of this play. Jack Worthing, he is otherwise called Ernest. He has a double identity. He is a young gentleman from the country who is in love with Gwendolen Fairfax. Algernon Moncrief, he is a young gentleman from London. He is a nephew of Lady Bracknell. He is in love with Cicely Cardew. Gwendolen Fairfax, she is a young lady. She loves Jack Worthing and she is obsessed with the name Ernest. Lady Augusta Bracknell, she is a society lady and the mother of Gwendolen. Cicely Cardew, who is a young lady who lives in the house of Jack. Also, she is a ward of Jack. Miss Prism is Cicely's governess. The Reverend Canon Cashville, he is a priest of Jack's parish. Let us see Act 1 summary. The play opens with Algernon Moncrief. He is an idle young gentleman. He receives his best friend at Algernon Moncrief's flat in Half Moon Street. His friend arrives. The name of his friend is Jack Woodring. He is otherwise called as Ernest. His friend Ernest has arrived from the country to propose Algernon's cousin. Her name is Gwendolen Fairfax. Ernest has a habit of smoking, and in his cigarette there is an inscription written as "From little Cicely, with her fondest love to her dear Uncle Jack." And frequently Algernon asks Ernest about the meaning of this inscription. Now he says that until he declares the meaning of the phrase, he will not allow him to propose his cousin Gwendolen Fairfax. Ernest has a double living life. In the country, his life would be serious. In order to attain attention from the heiress Cicely Cardew. In the country, his name is Jack. He also pretends as if he is cared or concerned for his younger brother named Ernest in London. Meanwhile, in city, he assumes the identity of libertine Ernest. The meaning of libertine is a person who is devoid of moral principles, meaning a person who is not interested in any of worldly matters. Similarly, Algernon also confesses a similar deception. Deception meaning he is trying to make his friend believe that something is true when it is not true. So he just pretends to have an invalid friend named Bunbury in the country, whom he frequently visits whenever he wishes to avoid an unwelcome social obligation. Similarly, Jack, that is Ernest, he refuses to tell Algernon the location of his country estate. Algernon, he tries to hold Lady Bracknell. Lady Bracknell is the mother of Gwendolen. He distracts Gwendolen's mother so that Jack will propose to Gwendolen. Gwendolen confesses that she loves him because of his other name, Ernest. In response, Jack says that he will rechristen his name to be Ernest. Gwendolen's mother, Lady Bracknell, she discovers their intimate exchange. She says Jack that he will be the right suitor for Gwendolen. But as days pass, when Lady Bracknell learns that Ernest was adopted after being discovered as a baby in a handbag at Victorian Station, she refuses him and restricts further contact between her daughter and Ernest. Gwendolen fails to openly acknowledge her love for Jack. Jack provides his address in the country to Gwendolen. His friend Algernon notes the address and he is very much eager to meet Jack's wealthy young ward in his country home. Now Act 2 begins in the garden of the manor house, WOOLTON. In the manor house, Cicely is studying with her governess, Miss Prism. Algernon arrives to manor house and he pretends to be Ernest Woodring and he tries to charm Cicely. Cicely has only heard of the name Ernest from her uncle Jack. Jack is actually Ernest, but Cicely doesn't know that Ernest is only Jack. Now when Algernon, when he introduces himself to be Ernest, the name that she was very much fond of hearing from her uncle Jack, when Algernon comes to know that Cicely likes the name Ernest, he plans for the rector, Dr. Cashville, to rechristen his name as Ernest. Jack now decides to break his double life. He arrives in the morning and he announces that his brother has died in Paris of severe chillness. He narrates this new story because of the presence of Algernon in disguise of Ernest. Meanwhile, Gwendolen has eloped from her home and she enters the house of Jack. At this time, Jack and Algernon was absent. Gwendolen, she meets Cicely. She introduces herself that she's the one who's engaged to Ernest. Hours later, when Jack and Algernon reappear, their fake identity are exposed. Act 3 starts in the morning room at the manor house, WOOLTON. Before the scene, Algernon and Cicely are engaged, and in the house there was a new arrival. The new arrived person is Lady Battrell. She is astonished to hear the engagement of Algernon and Cicely. Lady Battrell, she very well knows that Jack will not accept the engagement of Cicely because Jack expects Lady Battrell to reunite his daughter with Jack. And Lady Battrell, she dislikes Jack. Sometime later, Lady Battrell, she meets Miss Prism. She identifies Miss Prism as a person whom she had met before 28 years as a family nursemaid. She remembers the incident of this lady taking a baby boy for a walk in a perambulator and had never returned. Perambulator means a vehicle to transport children, similarly like a baby carriage. Hearing this, Miss Prism explains that she had absent-mindedly put a manuscript of her novel, which she had written. She dropped it inside the perambulator and the baby in a handbag. It is understood that Miss Prism had left the baby and the handbag at Victoria Station. Now Jack, listening to this conversation, he produces the very same handbag, showing that he is the lost baby. That is, he is the elder son of Lady Bracknell's late sister, who is the elder brother of Algernon, because Algernon is already the niece of Lady Bracknell. Now, knowing all these respectable relations, Jack is accepted as a suitor for Gwendolen. However, Gwendolen, she insists that she can only love a man named Ernest. At this moment, Lady Bracknell, she informs Jack that being a first baby boy, he would have been named after his father. His father's name is General Moncrief, and being a general, his father's real name would be Ernest. Jack also examines the army list and discovers the real name of his father to be Ernest. Later, it is revealed that Jack is totally in love with Gwendolen, and Algernon is in love with Cicely, and even Dr. Chosbull is in love with Miss Prism. At the end of the play, all three couple marry. Hope this video helps. If you have query, write it down on the comment below. Thank you for listening.